Here with head men's basketball coach Blake Mellinger ahead of a game coming up against Southwest Virginia rival Emory and Henry. Always a date in a game that is circled on everybody's calendar here at UVA Wise as we talk here on a Tuesday. That game will be tomorrow at 7:30 at the Pryor Center. Blake, you guys are coming off a tough loss against Catawba, 85-67 on Saturday. First time this season you guys have dropped a third game in a row. You've been able to not let the losing streaks build too much, but unfortunately didn't work out on Saturday. Even though it was a tough loss and that was a good Catawba team, like you and I talked about before the game, I thought there was one good, really good performance at least from Kalen Lightford in that game. He had a season high 18 points. He's really been one of the better players for you guys this season, and the fact that with all the injuries, and he's been injured himself with that shoulder, we see the rap on it every single game. He's still been out there, and he's been very productive in the last few weeks, the last 4 or 5 games specifically. Um, Talk to me about his toughness and his ability to just kind of gut it out and go out there and still be able to produce every single day, knowing that you guys really need him to when you were short staffed the other day on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he's really stepped up over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 games. He's been more aggressive offensively, which is something we've encouraged him to do. I think he's made 13 threes in the last 3 games, if I'm not mistaken. So he can really shoot the ball. It's just for him, it's a matter of convincing him and encouraging him to be aggressive. And you're right. Yeah, he's separated his shoulder. Gosh, I forget when, like real early in the season in practice. I think before we even started playing games, and he's just he's got it wrapped up there. He's kind of playing through it. It's not 100% by any means, but he's a pretty tough kid, and he's able to manage it for the most part.
I think beyond his 3-point shooting and how he's been able to be so effective from downtown, you guys have seen a lot of full court pressure this year, and I feel like he's handled that very well. And we talked from the start of the season up until now, you guys have really cut the turnovers. There's a couple bad games here and there where they spike, but for the most part, the average has gone down significantly from the first, 1 or 2 weeks of the season. I feel like he's a big part of that, obviously being your point guard, but the way he handles full court pressure seems to be pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. He does a really good job. He doesn't really get sped up too often. He has a good feel for when to go and when to kind of pull it out and run offense. So, he doesn't force a lot of things from that perspective. And, that's huge for us right now. He's our primary ball handler and, has been for the last little bit. And, I think he's doing a really good job.
So Lightford led you guys on Saturday with 18 points. You did have 4 scores in double figures, but despite that, the offense was very clearly lacking. And that's because you were without your top 3 scorers in that game, who average a total of 44 points per game. So I'm wondering, what's your mindset? How do you find some offense in a game like that on a day where you just don't have the bodies that you usually have?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I thought they did a really good job of taking us out of some things. And we needed to be able to attack them off the dribble a little more than we could, and I think that played a huge role in it. And then too, when we did attack them off the dribble, they had shot blockers in there, and I thought they did a really good job of contesting shots at the rim. So, I felt we got there fairly consistently. We just weren't able to convert, largely in part because of the size they had on the interior.
And you mentioned it. It kind of stuck out to me when you said it the last time we talked that injuries have been the story of your season. And that's really, truly the case. What's the most difficult thing about that for you as a head coach trying to guide this team through this season? What's the hardest part about that just being the day in and day out thing that you seem to be dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just the unknown. Like, if you have like one injury, even if it's a major injury to a key guy, you can kind of adjust. You kind of move on from it and, roll with the guys you have. But like, this year's been quite different because, literally almost everybody in our starting lineup has been out for a significant period of time over the course of the season and, several of those at the same time. So that's really hard to plan for. It's really hard to adjust to because like I said, I think I said before, it's just been like a revolving door, and day in and day out, you're not really sure who you're going to have, and there's just been no continuity there, no consistency with our lineups, and that's really challenging.
I'm sure some fans at home have been paying attention along with Emory since the last time you guys faced him on December 13th. For you guys, it's been kind of up and down since then. For Emory, it's been pretty much all down. They won their next game against Mars Hill after you guys beat them by 2 back on the 13th, like I mentioned. That's their last win on December 16th. They're on I think it's a 9 game losing streak right now, maybe even more. They've really struggled to kind of find their way. And that looked like a pretty decent team when we saw them, but it just hasn't worked out for them the past couple months.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's quite irrelevant for tomorrow. We know that, they've had this game circled. This game's always important to both teams. So, in a lot of ways, you can throw records out the window, you can throw lineups out the window, you can throw injuries out the window. Like, it's going to be a really tough competitive game tomorrow. They'll be ready to play. Um, and I think, they've dealt with some injuries too, or at least they're early on. I think they've gotten some guys back, but they've kind of had a few bumps and a few hiccups along the way from that standpoint also.
When you look at the numbers for Emory and Henry this season, what you'll notice is a lot of what we saw firsthand when we were there back in December. A very physical team, a very good rebounding team, especially on the offensive glass. What did you learn about them and about your team the last time you guys faced them, and what have you seen from Emory that maybe they've gotten better at in the last couple months?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of who they are. They're really scrappy. They're very physical. That's something we'll have to be ready for. They try to make up, for some things, which is how hard they play. They play extremely hard. So, that's a huge piece to it. Like, we've got to handle their physicality. We've got to match their energy. And if we do that, then, I think we'll be in good shape.
How confident does it make you going into a game like this, like you mentioned, a rivalry game throughout the record books, throughout the season records, stuff like that? How confident does it make you coming off the last time you guys faced them when you were down 7 in the second half, which in a rivalry game is huge? Felt like it was really hard to get back in that game. You guys go on a run, you take the lead, you stave off a late comeback from them. They scored 5 points on that crazy possession where they got 2 technical free throws and 3 free throws from a shot. All at once, so they were down 6 to down 1, just like that. But you guys were able to pull that win out. How confident does it make you in your team that in a game like this, where it's at the highest intensity and there's a lot of hatred between the two teams, that you're still going to find a way to win?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is I have a lot of confidence in our guys. Whether we've got 7 out there, we've got the full complement of players. Like, I have a lot of confidence that we're going to go out there and we're going to step up to the challenge and lay it on the line and compete. I think we've done that all year long. We haven't been perfect and we battled a lot of things, but I think the one thing you can say consistently about this group is they play really, really hard, and they support each other and they play together. And I think tomorrow will be no different.
Well, it sure seems like everybody around here has been talking about that January 31st Emory and Henry game, so it should be a good environment there in the Pryor Center. We're looking forward to it, and best of luck.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.